interesting discussion bordering on the matter to do with law. This is the Unzaro Radio Focus, a program that comes to you every Thursday at 1800 hours. And I'm your host, Boniface Kalemba, or better known as Tuta Kalemba. Today's discussion borders on matters relating to women's participation. We have seen men dominating in the political field. We have seen decisions mostly being made by men mostly. So the question is, are women definitely incapable, or why are women not being seen to definitely be able to involve themselves in decision making? And to discuss this matter this evening, I'm privileged to host my three guests. Have got two women or ladies or so who are championing this topic, and they are accompanied by, of course, from our side, another man yet on the other side. So I'll allow my guests to introduce themselves. Ladies first. Let's start. You can tell the listeners what your names are. Yes.
Okay, first of all, let me say I'm very excited to be here. It's a very great opportunity and honor that I have been invited to tackle such a topic. I might say it's a very interesting topic. So my full names are Chanda Musonda, but I'm well known here, or let me say popularly known as Unza Chacha.
Chacha.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm a third year student here at the University of Zambia, majoring in development studies and minoring in international relations. Yeah.
Great, thank you. The other lady.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm equally excited to be here. My name is Annah Banda, and I am a third year law student. Yes.
Great. Anything that the listeners would want to find out, definitely. Who is Annah Banda? Anything that you're involved in, yes. So that they can get inspiration, yes.
I would say I'm a researcher in the legal editorial board, and also a committee member in the Unza Law Audit Committee. So those are the things that I basically do.
Definitely. Okay. Then the gentleman on the other side.
So my name's Lusekelo Kamfwa. I'm a second year law student. Apart from being a student, I currently serve as the Vice Secretary General of the University of Zambia Law Association, also known as UNSA Law. Apart from that, I also serve as legal editor in the Legal Aid Initiative, which is a student-led initiative that seeks to promote the development of Zambia's jurisprudence or legal system, in simpler terms, through legal research, legal writing, and legal education.
All that, definitely you're involved in those positions as well as the those undertakement.
Yes, I'm heavily involved in so many activities of that nature, and apart from doing my own studies and the likes, involved in those activities. And I must also mention that a few nicknames that I'm known by. Some call me Council LK, others call me LK, and some also know me as LK, Voice of the Voiceless.
Great.
So, yeah.
Great. Thank you for that submission. And it's very interesting because looking at you in second year, and you have definitely highlighted a lot of things that you're involved in. You are part of the board, the Unzaro association, as well as these other things that definitely you are. I hope to see also these perhaps maybe from also people who are coming, the first years that we have, if they're going to be able to involve themselves in those. Okay, great. So to our listeners, as I mentioned, that today we are discussing matters relating to women participation. What is this women participation? And so to kick the interview or the ball rolling, perhaps let's start with ladies first. Madam Anna, when we talk about women participation, what do we mean?
Okay, women participation means participation in decision making. It means women involving, or rather taking part in decision makings, which or rather taking part in decision making, which is not only about politics but also could include economic, social, and also household. Yeah.
Okay. Even household is also part of
they
the
have,
participation. Yes.
definitely.
Ah, great. Madam Chanda, what do you think, or in your own words, what is, when we talk about perhaps women participation, before we even go into politics, when we talk about women participation, perhaps what does it mean, maybe in your own words?
Okay. So just to pick it up from where my colleague left it from. So the term women participation itself, we are talking about human rights. We are talking about women's rights. So women's participation, initially, we are talking about activities, or rather roles that women are expected to take part in, or rather activities that women are expected to take part in actively as well.
Okay.
Not only on the political arena, but the social as well. Speaking of the economy as well, economic and cultural as well, and other spheres as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Lusekelo, what do you think is women participation, or when we talk about women participation, because maybe the listeners out there, they don't know, when you talk about just women participation, they don't know what perhaps maybe it means, or to what extent does women participation entail?
For me, I would just say, if I were to put it in a simple phrase, it means women having a voice in what happens to them. When we're talking of decision making, when we're talking of participation, all that it's ultimately about is about, do I have a voice? Do I have a say in the things that affect me? So when we're talking of women's participation, we're basically saying, do women have a say? Do women have a say in the matters that affect them the most? That's what I understand.
Great, thank you. My next question perhaps will center on the women themselves, maybe, because maybe I may start with us men, and then we'll try and say, yeah, but they are. Or this question definitely is plenty. So my next question is, currently, what is the representation of women? Do we see women definitely involving themselves into politics? And what is the statistics? If so, perhaps we'll start with you, Madam Musonda.
Okay, so to answer your question, looking at the statistics,
yes,
you're going to find that, let's say from a range of 1 to 5, you're going to find that maybe only 2 out of 5 women are actively taking part in this politics. So you're going to find that the fact that not many women don't take up these public positions, public sittings, things to do with participating in decision-making processes, you're going to find that there are several factors that come in as well. So it's not just something that comes about because they've chosen to, but because of some stereotypical, let me say, social constructs that have been put in place. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Madam Annah, what is your thought, or how do you see currently the representation of women into politics? Is it a 50-50? Is it a 40 to 30?
Definitely no.
It's a not.
It's a no. Yeah, so women don't take part in certain positions, in political positions, because as my colleague earlier said, because of these stereotypes and cultural norms that we grow up knowing that women are not supposed to take part in decision making.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's a case that I was reading. So the name of the case is Chapter 1 Foundation and Others versus the Attorney General.
Okay.
It's a 2020 case. So this case, even though it failed, this case just basically highlights on how women are less included in decision making or political activities. So what happened in this case was that there were 24 cabinet ministers who were elected, who were appointed, and
into the current government.
Yes.
Okay.
And 4 of them were females out of 24, which is not even half of the number. Yeah. And then also 1 female out of 10 provincial ministers were elected.
Okay.
So from this case, we can actually draw that a lot of women do not engage in political activities because of how we grew up knowing that women have to be in houses taking care of children and not taking part in these
into
activities.
politics and these other decision making.
Which is really sad. Which is very sad. And we've never had a female president.
Okay.
We've never had.
Definitely, and that's true.
Since 1964, we've only had 2 female vice presidents, which is really sad, knowing that less women are taking part in these activities. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Council, is it okay? Yes.
Yes.
What is your take? Do you think, or do you also agree with the women on their side that definitely they are not equally represented in decision making? Do you also think the same?
I also agree with my colleagues in terms of representation. Actually, if you look at representation from a parliamentary standpoint, it has actually reduced.
Okay.
If you compare 2016 elections, about 16% of women, 16% of the parliamentarians were women. Come 2021, that reduced to 14%.
Okay.
And also highlighting the fact that the number of people that serve in the government, the number of ladies that serve is drastically less, as my colleagues have highlighted, as compared to the men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And I know that you have touched on the aspect to do with some norms, to say women, definitely they have been told to say your place is home and all that. So my next question is, are there, or does culture definitely bring in some barriers? Does it pose some barriers for women to participate in politics effectively? Does it affect, or it's just perhaps maybe people just speculating to say, no, you're supposed to be in the home? Madam Musonda.
Actually, culture has been spotted out as one of the major factors, the major core factors as to why women don't actively take part in politics and other decision-making processes. So you're going to find that due to the fact that we are coming from a dual legal system.
Yes.
So in Zambia, we have the civil laws, we have the customary laws as well. So you're going to find that quite all right, we have these we have these laws, but as the Zambian culture,
yes,
as Zambian women, it's normal that we are more inclined to the customary laws. So you're going to find that in every moves we make, we are going to restrict ourselves to the customary and the cultural aspect. Not saying it's a bad thing to respect one's culture, it's not a bad thing to carry on the culture, but I feel like we have inclined ourselves more to the cultural aspect or the customary laws.
Yeah.
Okay.
So due to that fact, you're going to find that culture, or rather the stereotypes, the cultural stereotypes have been topping as the top list, because the question that comes in is, I'm a woman, and then I say, no, today I want to stand as MP, let's say for Kabwata constituency. So the first thing that's going to come in is the family itself. They'll be like, what's wrong? What has made you come up with
that decisions?
Yes. Not really them trying to appreciate the fact that you have thought about that and you actually want to make that huge step. The first thing that's going to come in is prejudice.
Okay.
They are going to take it negatively. But why do you want to take this up? What has inspired you? Why do you know the consequences of you taking up this? So you're going to find that culture has really, really impacted many women out there not actively taking part in these political, or rather decision-making processes.
Yeah. But Amanda, as you take up that question, I want you also to couple with this question. Does the aspect to do with this stereotype on the basis that someone is thinking that how are people definitely going to think of me? Is it only just coming from the family, or even like oneself? Like the lady will just restrain him or herself into taking into politics because he's like, how are my family going to think about? Even if the family hasn't tell this person to say what has come over you. Yeah. Does also that happens? And if so, how can then we overcome these barriers?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. To answer your question, those stereotypes that... can you repeat the question again?
The stereotype that we are talking about.
Yeah.
it is the submission of Madam Sonda here to the fact that sometimes women, they don't take part into politics because of how the family, or what they'll be told by the family. Why are you taking into politics? Because this is a arena of what, of men. But now there are certain instances when the family will not do anything or will not tell this person, but the lady or the woman herself thinks, how are people going to think of me? So is there self-restraint also? Is there cultural, self-cultural restraint?
Okay. So earlier I said we grew up in a society where we know women are caretakers and all that.
Yes.
So growing up in a patriarchy system,
Yes,
where women are considered to be caretakers and men are considered to be heads,
yes,
we just have this mindset that no, a woman cannot take part in such a position in politics and all that, which in itself can limit a lot of women taking part in politics. Why? Because they think that no, these positions are for men. Only men can do it. I'm a woman. What can I do? So it can definitely limit a lot of women taking part in such politics. Okay, and then also when we look at women being considered less suitable for certain positions, they sort of like, they feel discouraged to stand for certain positions. Why? Because they're considered less suitable for those positions.
Who consider them, perhaps? Who consider them?
Society.
Is it society?
Society.
Oh, okay, great. Or their competitor, perhaps, maybe, or the voters. Yes, yes.
No, society. And a lot.
Great.
Society. So how do we overcome such? I would say we can support a lot of women taking part in these activities. We support women.
We can definitely overcome the cultural aspect or the barriers that are coming in.
Yes.
So is the support going to change perhaps maybe this culture? Because I think these are practices that are still there.
I feel like that's where the mistake is. Mostly you're going to find that as women, when a woman or a lady comes out to say, I want to try this out, I want to take up this political position.
Yes.
One thing you're going to realize is, as women, we lack the solidarity.
Okay.
We don't support each other.
We definitely don't support each other.
Exactly.
You feel like when your friend is standing for that position, this one is my enemy. You know,
Okay.
you feel threatened.
So that's where the challenge is mostly.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Lusekelo, coming from a patriarchal society where men are definitely uplifted, and so the expectation is men are the head, as you have heard. So on that particular basis, do you support that definitely some of these cultures is the one that limit women from taking part into politics?
Yes, I firmly agree and with my colleagues on that. One thing we must understand is that culture, among other things, formulates society's beliefs and the behaviors of people.
Exactly.
So when you have a society that's of the view that women shouldn't be participating in leadership, they shouldn't have a say in how things run, things will stay like that until there's a cultural revolution. It's been noted by one research journal, Cogent Social Sciences, in an article in 2019, that one of the major hindrances in women's participation in politics in the SADC region is traditional norms.
Okay.
And it's on two fronts. There's a societal front in that a lady might have a desire in her to stand.
The desire is always there.
So
the desire is always there, but the push.
So you'll find that the desire is there. But then because you know that no, everyone in society thinks that I should just be in the kitchen, they want to go ahead, either that or fearing what a husband will say or what the family members will say.
So Mandela.
So all that will be coupled then, and in the end, that will restrain now the person to definitely stand on that particular position.
Yes, and that's definitely one of the key issues that impacts women, and it takes society moving from being patriarchal to being egalitarian.
Okay.
And by egalitarian, I mean more about equality.
Okay.
It takes a society moving to that level that we can see more women's participation. And I like the point that my ladies brought out to say that uh, that when a woman stands up, you find there's lack of solidarity. One thing that we must realize is that women's movements that have effectively brought more equality for women are movements that are united.
Okay.
Take, for instance, there's the suffrage movement. It was one thing that was common in the late 1800s going to the 1900s, both in England and the US. And one thing that was there was that women were not given the right to vote. It was only men who had the right to vote, but the problem was most of the men were drunkards in their homes.
But those who have got the capacity were not allowed. Those who have the time to go and stand in the queues, they were not allowed.
Yes, and they were saying that no, how is it that our husbands who are not doing well, who are destroying our homes,
definitely
are the ones voting, yet us who are concerned about our children and whatnot
warfare, yes,
are not able to vote. And it led to a massive push, consolidated all women from all walks of life saying that no, let us fight for this right. And from there we have women's equality, and it's from there that we have it birthed the modern women's equality movement.
Okay.
So commenting on what my colleagues have said is that when women are solidly one and say that, hey, we want to push this agenda, women will push it, and it will lead to greater equality.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Perhaps before moving from the question relating to the cultural aspect, maybe coming out from the society where we are coming from background, let's just bring it maybe at school here. Do you think the same cultures are also imported here at school? Do you think women face the same cultural challenges in terms of if they want to stand on a particular position, or here the rules or equality plays maybe? Perhaps maybe Madam Annah, would you want to attempt that question? Do you think also culture also comes here when you want to stand to say, like Lusekelo said, he is in the law association. So if you are to stand on that particular position, would you also have faced certain challenges? Question to say, is she competent?
Yes.
Yes, you can go ahead.
Yes. Women do face, even here at school, we have women facing the same challenges that a lot of women face in the nation worldwide.
Yes.
So women don't go for certain positions. Let me say, for example, the Unzasu elections. We've got women. I've never seen a woman going for
the president.
President, they don't even try it. You know, when a woman says, I want to stand for the position of president, your friend will then ask you, are you sure you're going to manage? You know,
is it maybe because of the character of the presidency, or is because of the same stereotype? Perhaps
it's the same stereotype. I think a lot of people still have this mindset that women cannot do it. They cannot stand for that position. Why? Because they are women. They are considered to be soft, to be emotional, hysterical, and all that.
So they can't start a riot. That's interesting. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. So before I move on to you, all our dear listeners, if you have just tuned in to the Unzaro Radio, this is the Unzaro Radio Focus, a program that comes to you every Thursday at 1800 hours. And today we are discussing women participation in politics. And I'm privileged to host Mr. Lusekelo. I'm also privileged to host Madam Annah Banda as well as Madam Chanda Musonda. These are my guests. Let's proceed perhaps from that discussion. Now, Mr. Lusekelo, do you think also perhaps maybe the Gender Equality Act, does it also facilitate the participation of women in politics?
Well, the Gender Equality Act has a provision, and it should be Section 29, which states that in providing for rights that women have equal rights to participate in politics, which includes the politics within political parties, and that they shouldn't be discriminated based on the fact that they are females. Now, the only challenge is, as is with most of law, is not that the law isn't there on the books, but it's how it's followed.
Okay.
And it has been greatly noted in our country that majority of major political positions, you find that it's mostly the men that are picked. If there's a woman that's picked in a particular political position, most of the times it's in the woman's division.
Okay.
You will find each party has a woman's division, which it's like a way of the politician saying that no, at least we have women in leadership. If it's not that, it might be no, they are the ones leading in hospitality or what.
Catering, all those fields, so that they definitely provide some refreshment when there's some lollies. Okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so perhaps maybe as we dive into the laws, because we have discussed about culture, but now as we have started by looking at different laws that are there, Madam Musonda, do you think the gender or the national gender policy is also effective to do or to implement also the aspect of bringing about either the participation of women or to enforce this equality of women participating in politics?
Okay, so the Gender Equality and Equity Policy 2015 Act, it being a provision that advocates for the elimination of all forms of discrimination.
Yes.
So this discrimination is discrimination against women, things to do with empowering women, things to do with helping women to achieve gender equity as well as equality. So speaking of the component of empowerment,
yes,
the 2015 Gender Equity or Equality Act has actually tried by all means to ensure that women's rights and responsibilities are catered for as well. So speaking of the empowerment point, so usually when people hear the term empowerment, the first thing that comes in the mind is CDF.
Yes. Money. So the money has to be there, the funding.
Yes. But believe you me, empowering something takes a lot. Empowering someone takes a lot.
True.
You'll find that me educating someone about providing awareness to them to say these are your rights. As a woman, when you see this and this is not okay, you have to speak out. That is empowerment itself. So the 2015 Act has actually come up with so many strategies, of which empowerment, like I have said, is one of them, women empowerment.
Yes.
And also just eliminating all forms of discrimination against women. So this has been largely done in conjunction with the Zambia police and some non-organizations as well.
Okay,
yeah,
some NGOs are also involved.
Exactly,
okay.
Exactly, yeah. Many among others.
Great.
Yeah.
Madam Annah, would you like to add on? Do you think that act is also effective in order to promote women participation in politics?
Okay. Yes, from what my colleague Lusekelo said, Section 29, subsection 1B of the Gender Equity and Equality Act.
Council is quoting. The program for lawyers. Council is quoting. Yes, you can go ahead.
Yes, and Section 24 talks about women in both private and public bodies.
Okay.
Women, at least 50% of women being represented, like taking part in decision making.
Okay.
So from that section, we can say that a lot of women have taken part in decision making, or rather political activities. Yes, we've seen a lot of women taking part in such.
Great. So, thank you. Another act that we have that definitely also try to come in to cover is the Political Parties Act. Mr. Lusekelo, do you also think that this the 2019 Political Parties Act, has it influenced participation of women? Is there perhaps maybe any provision that tries to bring about equality? Does it maybe perhaps provide to say that if a particular political party wants to file in nominations, they should be able to have maybe 50% should be women, or any kind of number? Because this is the one that governs those who are in politics. This one speaks directly to the politics itself. Is there any provision that try to bring in equality in terms of this law?
So to answer that question, I would say I haven't had chance to find the specific act.
Okay.
So the only thing I found closest to that was the proposed amendments under the now defunct Bill 10, which talked about
Representation.
proportional representation, and also the only other provision would be just in reference to the principles under the Gender Equity and Equality Act, which talks about the same in terms of political participation. But despite that, even if the same Political Parties Act had those provisions, talking about gender equality and whatnot,
Yes.
we've still seen that political parties haven't shown the
willingness
to actually incorporate more women in their top positions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Madam Musonda, do you also think, in terms of the Political Parties Act, do you think there are provisions that have been put in place in order to address equality in terms of women participation in politics?
Actually, yes. So it being a policy that deals with equality, gender equality and equity, it's obvious that they have to bring up certain policies, certain rules or other regulations that can help govern them, to say, in as much as we want to implement this, we need to ensure that women as well actively take part in this. So we are going to look that we are going to find that the 2019 Act or the 2019 policy. Is it the policy what? The 2019 Policy Act, rather.
The National Police Act.
Yes. It's an act that has been brought up to just simply redress some of the existing gender imbalances.
Okay.
So you're going to find that they want to strive at ensuring, to say, in as much as we have this huge number of men taking part in politics, we need to secure a certain portion for the women as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Annah, as you definitely try to also contribute on whether or not in the political party there is that aspect, my question perhaps maybe to you is, in other countries, as Mr. Lusekelo said, that there is that aspect of proportional representation. Like, for example, there are other countries, I think it should be either Kenya or so, where they put up like 30% of the seats will be reserved for women. Do you think that is viable? Can you advise that Parliament definitely be able to introduce that so that women, they also have, maybe that would be mandatory?
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. I feel like such policies should be put in place.
Okay.
Whereby they say, if it happens that 30% or the 30 seats have not been settled for the women,
yes,
let's say there are 29 women available or 28 women, it's not going to go through.
Okay.
Not until they reach the agreed 30.
So we go back, if it's the by-election,
yes,
we go back until we fill the 30 seats that have been allocated to women.
We start all over again.
And that will be definitely be able to promote women, and will be able to show that then there will be a gap. But are they not, are the youths also going to say, but if you are giving women 30%, also give us 20%? So will there now be people now feeling also to be entitled, or discrimination on the basis that there's some reservation of seats? Is that equality, or we are bringing about maybe division? Perhaps maybe let me hear from the patriarchal society. So yes, sir.
So proportional system is a very complicated way of it's a very complicated electoral system in terms of what you want to achieve. The end goal is good in that you want to achieve equality. You want to achieve equality so that each person is represented. So in terms of its success, we've seen it's very successful in countries such as Rwanda, South Africa, that have higher levels of women's participation than not. But to answer your question, whether it would lead to greater discrimination, in one sense, it could, but it also can't at the same time, in that the quota is just based on gender.
Okay.
That's the only quota. The quota is just based on gender. So you are not specifying whether in that gender, you have young and old, and the
Okay.
majority of Zambians are young, relatively speaking.
Okay.
And we have seen also, like in parliament, a good number of parliamentarians who are relatively young. Like you could talk of maybe Binwa Mpundu, you could talk of, let's say, JJ, whether famous or infamous, I don't know, but
Whichever way.
at least Solon is known.
Okay.
Yeah, we have seen MPs like that who are relatively young. So it's just using that quota. So it wouldn't be discriminatory in the sense that it's like that. And also, such policies are usually done to correct existing discrimination.
Okay,
Yeah, discrimination and imbalances. You cannot have an equal society if you don't make any effort towards that direction. And I feel it's this mentality where we're saying that no, want it create a level of inequality, whatnot, that makes us from going that direction. Because here's the thing, all right? Society tends to follow its vices than its virtues.
Okay.
Society will tend more to the direction of inequality, injustice, than it will justice. All right? It is easy for the society to be unjust and discriminate women than it is to promote the plight of women. So I feel it's also a big fear that it's not a well premised fear that no, if we were to do this type of policy, do these programs where we are favoring women more, that it would lead to discrimination of men. Because at the end of the day, men have been always on top, with or without any assistance. So,
So we're just equalizing.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. So I don't really see such policies as an issue. I only look at it from a more. It now comes from a debate of whether such policy should exist, whether it would be an effective electoral system. Because now you start looking at now the political science side of things. You have looked at the gender aspect. Now you look at can it be a really effective system in Zambia and whatnot, and that would say a separate topic altogether. But the spirit behind that is good, and it's been seen as effective in South Africa and in Rwanda, which have high percentages of women.
Yes, representation. Thank you very much for that submission. Now, we have talked about women being being sidelined, then men being on top. But is it true that there are no women who are in politics? And if so, perhaps, Madam Anna, is there, or do we have perhaps maybe in Zambia women who have perhaps gone through these obstacles and they have gone to those positions? Or it's not true, we don't have any women, even the ministers and all that. And so can you try just to highlight some of these so that we see that yes, in as much as we are talking about the imbalance that is happening, but there are those who are also striving to do what? To come out. Yes, you can go ahead.
We have a lot of women in Zambian politics.
Okay.
And
you have said we have a lot.
A lot.
So the listeners then they say, what is the imbalance that these people are talking about? If it's a lot, is it a lot compared to men, or it's a lot just on themselves?
It's a lot just on themselves,
Okay,
not as
great.
compared to men.
Great. You can go ahead.
I'll just mention one, Edith Nawakwe.
Okay.
So she really inspires me a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. I've seen, there was a time when I was that was 2021 when we had the general elections, right? And she was standing for the position of president, which is so encouraging, seeing that a woman did take up that position.
One and only.
Yes, it's so encouraging, because from that we can draw conclusion to say that a lot of women can actually take up such positions.
Great.
Yeah, she has faced so many obstacles, but she's there standing still.
And she's still there, even though she hasn't gotten up to that.
Even though she didn't win, but she did take up a really.
Okay, I think even in the last election, didn't we not have, like, other than Madam Edith Nawakwe, didn't we have any other female politician taking part?
Did we have?
The only one I remember is Madam Edith now.
Is
Me
this one?
too,
It was
yeah.
something like Kateka, something like
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
so,
under Heritage
Mm.
Party.
so,
Oh.
so there is people are still, or women are still
Yes,
also
yeah.
striving or overcoming these
Obstacles.
barriers. Yes. So maybe, Madam Son, would you wish to add on? What are some of the women that inspires you that you definitely look up to and to politics? And by politics, I don't just mean like I said, like president and everything. Even these top positions, they can also be that level because decision making is important. If you can take up that decision making position, you can definitely also do all these other things. Yes, madam. You can go ahead.
Okay, so I think the woman who really inspires me a lot is our vice president herself,
Okay.
Madame Nalomango.
Okay.
She's not just into politics, but she's a Christian as well.
Okay.
She inspires me a lot. Just how she speaks out there. She yeah, it's just amazing.
And that reminds me with the notion or the thinking that I was having that perhaps maybe why women they don't want to be in politics is because how politics has been labeled. You know, it's violence. There's all that, and now you've mentioned to say this is a woman who is a Christian, not just a Christian, but is coming from or is married to the husband who is like a pastor. So all those aspects, there will be those stereotypes to say, okay, so now they will just be doing evil things and wrong things. So she's like trying to show the picture to say, no, it's about what you follow and all those other concepts. Okay, thank you. So second, is there any or examples of women that you can give who are in these political or in decision making that definitely shows that they have gone outside these barriers that we are talking about?
I think one woman I'd really love to highlight is the late Irene Mambilema.
The former Chief Justice?
Yes. Not only did she only was she the first female Chief Justice that we had, she made great strides in terms of promoting women's equality in the judicial system. Because take of our three branches, the judiciary is the most equitable in terms of gender balance.
Okay.
I remember reading in terms of the percentages in the different courts. I should be, if I'm not mistaken, it should be somewhere around about let's say 30% in the Supreme Court, 50% in the Court of Appeals, and also I think that same percentage in the Constitutional Court, which shows how much strides she put in terms of promoting women's leadership in terms of the judiciary. And that's very important because you come to realize that and this is something that I've studied, you find a huge number of ladies study law, but that doesn't translate to how many would be, let's say, in the position of judges and the likes.
Chief Justice or so.
And the fact that she made that effort using her position to promote gender equality in the judiciary, it's very important because here's the thing also about the nature of the law. There are certain aspects of the law that only a lady best knows how to deal with that. That's especially, maybe matters relating to defilement, to rape, to abuse, all those things. You find that a lady has a particular touch. There's that motherly nature in them. They would know that this is the best way to handle. Most of us gents, maybe because we have that level of toughness, or like, you should just get over it. But ladies, they have that understanding. And for me, I'll just say Irene Mambilema is very inspiring to me. Even though I'm a male, but we're inspired both by ladies and men in terms of what they do for the betterment of this country.
Thank you. Great. Thank you for that wonderful submission. So to you all our dear listeners, if you have just tuned in to Unza Radio, this is the Unzaro Radio Focus, a program that comes to you every Thursday at 1800 hours. Today's discussion, we're discussing matters relating to women participation into politics. To what extent, what percentage do or constitute women participating into politics? Let's perhaps move further into our discussion. Council Chanda, do you think education can be a tool that can be used to empower women to participate into politics?
Very true. You know, one thing about education is that it's going to shape how you think.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
going to change how you perceive things.
Okay.
It's going to change almost everything about you. Then how you gesture and everything.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we can't deny the fact or run away from the fact that education has a great impact on us as women.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ah, great. Madam Anna, Kasahana, do you also think education does or empower? And if so, at your personal level, because like you said, you may think, yeah, it may definitely be able to hinder you. So now, can education also empower a person, and specifically you, can it empower you to participate politically? And if so, how?
Okay, yes, education can empower me
Mhm.
and other women out there.
Yes.
So I always remind myself every day that education is power. Once you are learned, no one is going to come to you and lie to you to say, no, you can't take part in politics. No, you can't do this. You know your rights.
Yes.
So when a woman is educated, she knows her rights and she knows that she can take part in politics.
Definitely.
And that has helped a lot of women taking part in politics.
Great. So is it your advice that women or girls, young girls, should focus on education so that definitely they are also like empowered? Because there are those people who have got that zeal. They are saying, as you made mention to say, I felt like Edith Onwaki has inspired me, and then maybe this person would want to come and be part of the political arena, but because of lack of education. So is it your inspiration to others to say, or to the young lady who is listening in the community around, that they should take education serious?
Yes, yes. When a child, okay,
Hmm.
we need to make sure that these little children, they go to school, especially in the villages. We see that when a girl child reaches puberty, she's married off, you know.
Yes.
So we need to ensure that policies, there are certain policies that are implemented to ensure that children, these teenagers, girl child, are taken to school, because yeah, as I earlier stated, education is power.
Great, thank you. Mr. Lusekelo, would you also want to add on, maybe in a word or so, does education empowers women to participate in politics?
It does a great deal. The UNESCO noted in a study that education increases one's chances of success in life. Those who don't receive any level of education have fewer chances to participate in anything. And it's also been highlighted in the same study I talked about by Cogent Social Sciences in 2019, looking at the SADC region, that one of the hindrances of women participating in politics is lack of education. They don't understand the issues, and here's how the intersection comes in. Your level of education also determines your level of job opportunities. And your level of job opportunities determines your economic power
that you have.
Yes, and as we know, economics is a very financially strenuous venture. If you don't have the financial capacity,
The muscles.
you cannot be able to participate. If you don't have the qualifications, you cannot have those chances to reach the higher levels you need to. So it's very, very important that women's education not only be promoted, but be fought for. That is why I would like to commend what this government and previous governments have been doing through positive education policies, that such as the re-entry policy, such as the aspect where they reduce the pass rate for ladies, even though people might say that's discriminatory. You find that
positive discrimination.
but ladies go through a lot, especially in the village. When they reach that period of the month, they don't have the privilege that here in town, where you can just go to a shop and whatnot. You find that you might spend 14 days, whatnot. They go to the wells getting water and whatnot.
That's true.
Yeah, so education is really the key in terms of progressing women in politics.
Great, thank you.
And I think just to add on what my colleague is from saying, the issue to do with education, yeah, it's very true. Education has the ability to measure one's success in life.
Uh-huh.
So you're going to find that if you look at it statistically,
Mm.
it is evident enough that looking at the power imbalances, or rather looking at the financial capabilities of men and women,
Mm.
you find that men are considered richer
Yeah,
than women.
Mhm.
So it being one of the factors as to why women don't actively take part in politics, finances as well have contributed to why women are not taking part in these politics and
But
decision.
Madam Chanda, just to cut you short,
Okay.
even in these politics or political parties that we are talking about, when men are to stand and then they have been put on the ticket, money is there. But why is it different when it's a woman who should be there? Then the resources they disappear because these men who stood in this position, they don't pay perhaps maybe their own money because it's a political party that will sponsor you. But for women, how does the money then disappear that they don't have resources?
That's the thing exactly. We lack the support out there.
Okay.
Of course, other things come in, speaking from experience. There'll be proposals here and there, but again, you find that you can't go for that. So you find that it's because of that fact that women are lacking financially. We're not going to restrict ourselves from the cultural aspect, not running away from the fact again that it's one of the major, but finances as well have greatly contributed to why women don't actively take part in politics. Yes.
Great. Thank you. My next question, as we are concluding, is how do you stop violence against perhaps women in politics? Because this has also been noted by the SADC Women Lawyer Forum, which was opened by the Vice President in Livingstone, that there has been a lot of political violence against women. So perhaps maybe this is also like one of the factors that also contributes to women being interested going into politics. So how do we then definitely maybe stop this political violence against women? What should we do, Mr. Lusekelo, perhaps?
So this is one of those issues where it's a bigger issue than simply just related to women, because in order to tackle it, we must tackle the sad reality that political violence is part of African politics. So the best way to curtail it is by developing in our people a culture of political tolerance, and also by discouraging political leaders from actually encouraging their people to cause violence.
Yes.
I think my other colleagues can contribute some more to that aspect.
Thank you for that. Madam Anna.
Okay, so how do we stop this political violence? So I would mention one. I'm going to mention one actually.
Okay.
So we can implement and enforce laws that penalize political violence against women.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have to include laws. Now, should it be in the Political Parties Act, in the Gender Equality Act, perhaps, so that there is that punity? Because most of these laws, the problem again that we find is you go and put a particular provision in a toothless act. You understand?
Yes.
We know, like, even when we are talking about the GBV Act and everything, it doesn't provide mechanism of how you have to enforce it through the penal code and all that.
Yeah.
So if you go and put something in a toothless act, it definitely means people will just decide, because we don't know the consequences that will come. Don't just say this is not allowed, this is prohibited and all that.
Yeah.
Can you provide mechanisms? So that's why my question is, where should we put maybe that? Should it be in the penal code, in the Political Parties Act?
The Gender Equity and Equality Act, because it's the one that specifically mentioned a lot about issues to do with women.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madam.
Okay, so personally, I feel like everything starts with us.
Okay.
Yeah, in as much as we need policies, we need laws that need to be implemented towards promoting women's participation in politics. I feel like it should start with us as women and men as well.
Okay.
Let us strive to be role models out there. Let us set examples out there. If there are ladies out there who can take up certain high positions, who am I not to?
Yeah.
So I feel like it definitely starts with us. And once the less privileged out there, or once those who need a drive or inspiration see to say we have taken up those roles, once they see to say there are women out there who are willing to take up those roles, I feel like that can be motivation enough for them.
Okay, great. Thank you for that response. As we conclude our discussion, perhaps my question to each one of you is, do you think there is need for an increase of public awareness? Do we need to increase public awareness, or the public awareness that is there about women participation, supporting women in these politics, rallying behind those people who are still there? We've seen Madam Laila Miti, I think usually many a times she tried to come out and challenge even those matters that even men can't even talk about because they're fearing that they will be sent to jail and all that. So do we need to increase, let's start with Mr. Lusekelo, do we need to increase public awareness?
The need isn't in awareness, but in support.
Okay.
For me, this is one of the reasons why I've even come on this panel as a male.
Okay.
One thing that discovered in my studies is the fact that when a male, a significant male in a lady's life, be it their partner, be it their father, be it their brother,
their boyfriends,
yes,
okay,
when they give support to ladies, their chances of participating in politics actually increase.
Okay.
And if we increase that level of support for ladies, we will see more participation in politics. They are aware. We are all aware. It's now time for us as a Zambian people to rise up and say, we know this. Let us not just be there saying that women equality, women. Let us go out and support our ladies.
The awareness is already there.
Thank you. So it should not just be in word, but in action.
Yes.
In action.
Madam Anna?
I think all has been said. There's no more meat to that.
to put on.
Said it all, yes.
Great. Yes. What do we need to increase public awareness, or do you agree that it's not public awareness that is needed? People do not need to be told that women are very important and they should participate in politics because they are already aware. But we just need to support.
I definitely agree with Mr. Kamfwa. The awareness is already there. These are things that have been in place. These are things that we've been talking about since way back till now. So the awareness has always been there. It's just the force, the drive, and the support that's needed.
Great. Thank you. A great discussion that I had. So before we close, let me give you perhaps, let me start with Madam Chanda Musonda. What are your last concluding words to the listeners out there?
Okay. So one thing I would love to emphasize on out there is a woman's voice is very important. In as much as a man's voice is important, but women as well need to stand out there. Women need to come out and speak out and take up political positions. Not only political positions, women need to vote. Women need to hold public offices. Women need equal representation. Let's develop a spirit of solidarity as women. Let's support each other. Let's push one another. I feel like that way, as women, we are greatly going to contribute to Zambia's development.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Yes, Madam Anna, you can go ahead.
Just to say a few words, as she has already said, women's voice should be out there, because when a woman is at the top there, she's the voice for the voiceless. The lot of women who would just rather keep quiet. I'll just forget about it. It's okay, But when one woman stands out there, she's able to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. And then when a woman is on top there, there's a safe space. Okay, a safe space for a lot of people to approach, a lot of women to get advice from. Yeah. So we need to support each other as women. We lack support, definitely.
That has to
Especially from women. We lack support. And from men, the mindset of saying that no, she cannot do this, we can do it. We can definitely do it.
Women were
if
not-
anything, we need the men's support.
And definitely the support has started, because already you have on the panel the man accompanying you to come and support you to say
Yes.
that's how it's supposed to be.
The council himself.
Definitely. Yes, sir, you can conclude. What are your last concluding
So
remarks?
my concluding remarks are divided in this way.
Mm.
A word to our leaders in whichever sphere, whether it be in student politics, whether it be in our clubs, whether it be in our religious organizations, in the government, support women, support the interests of women. Let their voices be heard. Push them, give them the support they need. We need them to run a just and perfect society. Without women, without their input, we won't be able to run a just society that adequately meets their needs.
Very true.
And my fellow men, to my fellow young people, I'm speaking to the men here. We need to support our sisters. We need to support our babes, to use that language.
That you understand.
Or to speak to use the Unza language, we need to support our fellow Momas. We need to support them. They need our support for them to be able to progress and be the people that they need to be. Without our support, they won't be able to reach the level.
Sure.
They can have the ladies' support, but if they don't have our support as men, they won't be able to reach the levels that they need to reach. So I call on men specifically right now, let us support our ladies in all spheres of life in however ways possible.
Thank you very much. So to you all our dear listeners, young men out there, today being the Girlfriend's Day, definitely we have been told that not only to support your girlfriend in any other way, you are just buying them, but politically also support them in those positions that they are in. So today, our discussion or our topic was bordering on participation of women, and I was privileged to host Madam Chanda Musonda as well as Madam Annah Banda, and on the other side they were accompanied by the patriarchal society, the men themselves, Mr. Lusekelo Kamfwa. So this is where we have come to the end of today's show. I want to appreciate you for coming and honoring the invitation to come and discuss this